welcome back. This is the sixth video from Hacking with Python series, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make your own script that brute forces SSH servers. So what brute force technique is, it is a technique that basically and practically just tries every single password and username specified as a parameter. So I will link in the description a word list, a huge word list with a lot of default SSH passwords and usernames, but for the sake of this video I'm not going to actually show you or use a word list because we're just this video is only for educational purposes. Okay, so you want to open up your terminal if you're on Linux or Mac, or your command prompt if you are on Windows, and you want to type pip install Paramiko. Now Paramiko is a module we will use for creating and setting and connecting to SSH. Okay, so you can see I already have this installed. So what did just happen? You can see I already have this installed. Make sure that you get something that looks like this, otherwise you have not configured your pip correctly, and I will link some videos in the description on how to fix this. Okay, so you want to start off by creating a directory and storing in there a new Python file. Now it doesn't matter what the file will be, you just have to call it anything you want but .py. Okay, now in the same directory, this is really important, you want to create a text file that is called wordlist.txt. Again, the name does not really matter, but it is really important that you store it in the same directory. Otherwise, we will not be able to see. Basically, the Python file will not be able to see it. There are some tricks to let's say see it from any directory in your computer, but it is overcomplicated for this video. And anyways, the video is how to brute force SSH servers. So let's start off with that. First things we will do is import the module we just created, Paramiko, like that. And we will use socket, socket, like that. And last thing, we are going to use time. I'm going to explain why in just a second. So what I'm now going to do is create a function that will store a client, an SSH client, and then it will try to connect with a given hostname and username and password. So the parameters of this function will be a hostname, a username, and a password. Okay. Now there are three exceptions in this try program. So when we try to connect, the first exception is that the host will be unreachable. This means that there is no SSH server with this hostname without having to do with a username or password. Okay, then we need to catch the exception of authentication exception. What this means, it is an exception that tell us that the username and the password are invalid. And the last exception we're going to catch is a quota exception, which means that the server says, hi, I understand that you tried to brute force me, so calm down, delay for a couple of seconds, and then you will be able to connect to us again. So this is why we use time to delay for a couple of seconds. Okay, let me actually go ahead and create this function. So is SSH open, and in here I'm going to specify hostname like that. I'm also going to specify username and password. So the parameters we just said. Okay, then I'm going to create a client variable which I'm going to specify as an SSH client, like that. without any parameter at all. Then we need to do something that I didn't really said before, and it is set missing host key policy. You don't really have to worry about that. It just adds to known host. This is what the documentation says. I'm not really going to explain this in depth because it's not that important. So let's go ahead and do this. Client dot set missing host key policy like that. And in here, all you need to do is specify paramico dot auto add policy with couple of brackets. Okay. Now let's start with the try and the to try and catch the exceptions. Okay. So we're going to try to client dot you guessed it connect with the parameters and timeout of 3. Okay. Really important, don't forget about that. Okay, then we're going to cut the exceptions we just discussed. So the first one is socket dot timeout. So again, I'm going to again explain it. This means that the host is unreachable like that. How is it on auto completing that? I can't understand that. And um then you want to return false. Okay, I will say why in just a second. Let me finish with exceptions. Okay, so paramico then dot authentication error exception. I'm sorry about that. We again discussed this before. It is when your credentials are wrong. So let's actually print around credentials. No, like that. Okay, and then let's return false. Okay, again I'm going to explain why in just a second. Okay, so the last exception is paramico dot ssh exception like that, which again says us that hey, you have to sleep or delay a couple of seconds. Okay, so we will print, let's say, quota. This is how it's called. It's good to know that. Exceed it. How is it auto completing? That's wow. And let's say retrying with a delay. And to delay, you just type time dot sleep and inside the amount of milliseconds. So 60 milliseconds a second. Okay. I'm sorry, 60 seconds. So a minute. Okay, and then let's return false. Now, why do we return false? Because if none of them is true, we want the function to return false. So we just then, I'm sorry, we just then have to create an else that will say that will print the actual credentials. So um what we need to why we needed to return false. Well, think about it. Let's say it is the most common exception, so I'm going to use this authentication exception. It says around credentials, but it doesn't return. It goes through the SSH exception without returning false, and then it again prints that the credentials are correct. But this is not what we want to do. We want to return before we print the credentials. So to print the credentials, type found combo. You can specify in here whatever you want basically, but then type this that I just those brackets that I just typed. Then you can literally specify anything, but I'm going to explain why brackets and then a couple of brackets more. Okay, So then type dot format, and now I'm going to explain why. So in those brackets, the instead of printing brackets, Python will understand that we want to print a variable. So instead of just printing found combo, stopping here, then doing this plus sign thing, and then printing the variable, and all of that stuff, we just do it that way, which is a lot quicker. Okay, so dot format, and in here I'm going to just type, let's say, first the host name. Yeah, first the host name. Why? No, not actually, the host name is not a credential. So first the username, and then the password, like that. Okay, so after doing this, we want to return true, not false, because we found the password. Okay, now all we need to do next is I like to parse arguments, and I really suggest you do so. I'm going to show you how to do it, but if you don't, it's really easy to just go ahead and store variables and input and all of that stuff. But if you have used any penetration testing tool, you will have seen that when you run the program, you're like Python, the name, the py, and then let's say slash p and something, or slash d and something, and all of that stuff just add up. Okay, so if you want to have it in your portfolio, it is fully recommended by me to actually go ahead and implement it like that. But the final choice is yours, of course. Okay, so to do this, all we need to do is type if underscore name underscore equals underscore main underscore, and then we need to import one last module. Now I like to import this right here, but for the sake of the video and to don't confuse you anymore, I'm going to import it right over here. Okay, then let's go ahead and let me show you how to parse those arguments. It's not complicated, I wouldn't really say so, but when you understand how it works, it will be easy peasy for you to actually go ahead and add more and more arguments. So you always want to use parser and then type this exact thing, arg parse dot argument parser, and in here you want to have a description, and I'm going to say SSH brute force script. Yeah, okay, like that. It's that easy. And then to add arguments, it's again easy. Just type parser dot add argument, and in here it gets a little bit complicated, but you will get used to it. Okay, so you want to type host, so the user has to type host. Okay, and then you want to type some help. So when you type, let's say, python name dot py slash h, this um help will show up. Okay, all the help arguments you will specify in any of your whole arguments. Okay, if that makes sense. And in here I'm going to say, let's say, host name for SSH server, like that. Okay, now let's go ahead and add some more arguments. The next one will be the password list, okay. So slash p, I mean, that makes sense, or you can type slash pass list. Okay, so you will may have seen, I'm sorry, you will may have seen that sometimes you can either type one letter, and you can either type slash and then the whole name. If you don't want it, you don't add it. Okay, I'm just showing it for everyone to know. Then in here for the help, let's go ahead and type file that con con contains passwords like that, and then parser dot argument, and then we're going to use the host for the username. Okay, so slash u, and then slash user like that, and let's set help equal to not user, host host username like that. So now it's when it gets a little bit complicated. So we're going to call the function we just created a lot and lot of time until we either find the password or the password list is empty. Okay, so how do we do this? So first things first, we're going to parse our arguments. So we're going to set a variable called args equal to parser dot parse args. That's simple. And then we're going to say that the host is equal to arguments dot host, and the pass list is, so what we are going to do is take the values specified in each of every argument. So pass list equals args dot pass list, and then the last thing is user equals args dot user like that. So I'm going to open a file, so I'm going to call it, let's say, pass list equals open, and then pass list dot, now we will need dot read, and then we will need to split lines. Now this is something that you have to do always, okay, when working with files. So I'm going to for password, so for every individual password we're going to try in pass list, then we will check if is SSH open with the host, the user, and the password, which is equal to this password. So we're going to try every single password of this pass list. Makes sense. If that's true, then we want to open credential. Oh no, we don't have a file, so we want to just print. We have actually printed, so all we need to do is just break. Okay, what this break means is we don't have to anymore iterate. This is how it's called. We don't have to try any more passwords in the pass list. We're just done. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. It actually showed the process for every brute forcing we're going to do. We're just setting a password, trying for from the pass list, and oh, sorry, I forgot that. And if SSH is open, so we have a function that has host user password. Parameters may vary, so if you, let's say, don't have a host, or if you don't know the user and you know the password, you are changing the parameters depending on that. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, let me know in the comments. So, and make sure to subscribe for more content like this. For now, bye.